and welcome to my channel. My name is Martine, and if you are new here, I do videos on Vedic astrology mainly, but also with some tropical insights, and I focus on both relationship and natal astrology. And if you like this video and you would like to hear more content from me, please like, subscribe, hit the notifications bell. And if you're interested in a personal consultation, please check out the video description. I will leave the contact information there. So thank you. And now to get into today's video. I wanted to do a video in continuation with the playlist that I started about how to read the spouse archetype in the natal chart of a person. And I will be focusing on Nakshatras for today. I know I haven't done any videos on Nakshatras. I will at some point, I guess. At least I plan on making some detailed videos about Nakshatras, but this is not going to be a detailed video about Nakshatras. I am going to briefly go through the general description for these Nakshatras that I'm going to be talking about. So today I'm just going to be talking about if your relationship dispositors fall into one of the sun-dominated Nakshatras. And the sun-dominated Nakshatras are Krittika, Uttara Phalguni, and Uttara Ashadha. And so I'm only going to be focusing, because it's going to be a really long video anyway, because I'm going to go through the descriptions for a little bit, and then, going to go more in depth about the potential professions that this partner of yours is going to have. This is true for both men and women. So to see if these nakshatras are relevant for you with regards to your partner archetype, you have to look at Jupiter if you're a woman, or Venus if you're a man. So if you're a woman and your Jupiter falls into one of these nakshatras, or to a lesser extent, if your Mars falls into one of these nakshatras, Mars is going to show the kind of man that you are attracted to, especially especially from a physical point of view, but maybe you don't see those men as long-term potential. But Jupiter is the long-term partner or the husband archetype for a woman. So if your Jupiter is falling into one of these nakshatras, you're definitely going to tend to attract these kinds of partners. And you're going to be attracted to them with regards to long-term relationships. And similarly, if you are a man and your Venus is falling into one of these nakshatras, then this will apply to you. And also for both genders, 7th house lord, if the 7th house lord falls into one of these nakshatras, it will definitely apply to you. And to a lesser extent, if the Darkarka, or the planet with the lowest degree, which I have made a video about this a long time ago, you might also want to check that out, about what the Darkarka means more in detail. But Darkarka is one of the spouse significators, and so if Darkarka falls into one of these nakshatras, then it also applies to you. So let me get into it. So first of all, Krittika. Short description. Also, another brief parenthesis before I get into it. Obviously, if you're most likely not going to have all of these partner dispositors within these nakshatras, I will be making videos in the future about the other nakshatras as well. And you pretty much have to look at all of them and see how they fit together in creating a partner portrait for your future spouse or your current spouse. But this is just going to be for these particular nakshatras, right? So you have to consider other potential nakshatras as well, obviously. Right, so Krittika nakshatra. So Krittika is a nakshatra or a lunar mansion. Remember, these are based on constellations in the sky. So and this one spans from 26 degrees and 40 minutes Aries to 10 degrees Taurus, sidereal zodiac. Everything that I talk about is sidereal zodiac. And it's ruled by the sun, obviously, because I mentioned sun-ruled nakshatras, and the deity is Agni, the god of fire. This is, from the Indian mythology. So symbols connected to this nakshatra are razor or a knife or any kind of sharp object, also a flame. This is called literally, it's also literally translated, so Krittika, the word, is literally translated into the one who cuts. And it's also called the star of fire. This is called the birthplace of power. So this kind of paints a portrait for the kind of person that you are going to be attracted to. First of all, for all of these nakshatras, actually the sun-dominated nakshatras, you are likely going to attract a sun type of partner. Of course, there are also influences based on aspects to these dispositors, and also based on which sign it falls into. So there's going to be a slight difference in interpretation. For instance, if let's say your Jupiter is in Aries in Krittika versus whether it's in Taurus in Krittika. A slight difference. Because in Aries, it's also going to be influenced by the ruler of Aries, which is Mars, and in Taurus is going to be influenced by Venus, which is the ruler of Taurus. But in both of these, overall, it will be dominated by the sun. And the sun represents leadership positions, it represents government stuff, it represents fire in general, but Krittika in particular is called the birthplace of power. There's an entire mythological story connected to each of these nakshatras, so I won't get into that. But just the brief description, Krittika is a Rakshasa Gana. So I have mentioned about the Ganas in, I think, the video I made about Secrets of Moon Incompatibility. I did mention there that Ganas are, there are 3 of them. So they're Rakshasa or demon, Manushya or human nakshatras, and Deva or godlike nakshatras. And technically, each of these are like a mode of operation or a mode of expression of the energy. Rakshasas are said to be the most ferocious and the most materialistic. Ferocious in the sense that, you know, they're very unlikely to take crap. They're usually straightforward, and they're more just fierce, you know, fierce, maybe not ferocious, that's kind of animalistic, but you know what I'm saying? Like, Krittika is going to be the kind of person that doesn't beat around the bush. So you're going to attract a partner who is likely going to be straightforward, really desire-dominated, really self-motivated, ambitious, might be overly ambitious. You know, somebody who wants to achieve great things. Because Krittika is related to literally great achievements. Things that may seem impossible to the average person. So usually these people are gonna be very independent, very ambitious, self-motivated, to a certain extent materialistic. Now obviously there are also going to be slight differences depending on which padha of the Krittika nakshatra this dispositor will fall into. I won't get into that much detail, but there are slight variations. So it's like I said, so it's a Rakshasa nakshatra. It is said to be a mixed, so they are divided into like harsh, soft. So this is considered to be mixed. So they are harsh and soft, you know, alternating depending on the situation. Basically, the typical description for Krittika is that they are relatively peaceful until they are provoked, after which they can be extremely dangerous. So they're also connected to the peacock as a bird, representing, you know, the fact that these people like to be the center of attention. They represent, you know, also being ruled by the sun. They also are linked to dramatic arts. And it's also connected to the color white, which represents pureness, because this is also called the star of, actually not the star of, but it is linked to purification spiritually, especially. So transformation through purifying the spirit or something like that. So something like the phoenix coming back from the ashes, that kind of thing. So people that, things that, for instance, have to do with rehabilitation, dieting, transformation on a physical plane. So anything that has to do with like purifying yourself is seen as a Krittika, because, you know, the night is dark and full of terrors, but the fire, I think, what is it, cleans it all away. that kind of thing. I always thought of like when I saw Game of Thrones, I always thought of Melisandre as somebody who's I don't know, on some level a Krittika. So basically, yeah, because fire is a purifying energy, and this is where fire is really powerful, like the energy of fire. Even though the element associated with Krittika is actually earth, this is the star of fire. So, and another fun thing is, because it is the star of fire, if you look at somebody's physical appearance and they are, let's say the ascendant falls in Krittika, or if the sun or moon falls in Krittika, usually these people tend to either be redheads, or they look good with red hair, or they look good in red. A lot of red connections. Okay. So your partner overall is going to be seen as somebody who's quick to anger sometimes, so people who are not going to back down if they are provoked. They might be too quick to react to being provoked, so they're not good at being diplomatic. They can also be, adventurous and somehow easily bored. They can be very intelligent, but may have problems with being disciplined and focused. They can almost have a childlike nature to some extent, both with regards to the fact that they're quite innocent, surprisingly, despite their toughness, the toughness that they can display sometimes. But they can be childlike, so they can have childlike in every sense of the word. Like they will, how kids will just get an idea and they will pursue it until the end of the earth, that kind of energy. So you can expect that. They will appear to be tough on the surface, but they will be quite affectionate and warm on the inside. They're very protective and capable of protecting others and sacrificing themselves for others if necessary. With regards to also, so they can be not necessarily perfectionists, but they dislike imperfection. So actually, Krittika is also literally connected to criticize. So these people, they can be really sharp-tongued, they can be straightforward to the point of offending others. They are not going to pull their punches, and they can be overly critical, or they can say things that will, rub people the wrong way. But they will not do it out of malice. They will do it because they want to remove imperfections in general. Again, goes back to the fire being a purifying energy. Some of the professions, so that the spouse, your spouse, or your long-term partner that you're going to attract, if your dispositors are going to fall in Krittika, will have professions connected to anything to do with fire on a regular basis. So cooks, actually also knives, so sharp things, sharp objects. So Krittika is about cutting as well. So but especially cooks, and even if your partner is not going to be a cook, they're going to enjoy cooking. Like if they're not going to be a professional cook, they're very likely going to enjoy cooking, or they're going to be really good at cooking. They like any kind of activity that is involving fire. They can even work with ceramics and glass, like a glass blower, in some minor cases, because it's not a particularly popular occupation anymore. But they can also be firefighters, for instance, or they can be connected to defense, so police, army, military, weapon engineers. They can also be connected to athletics, or things like martial artists or personal trainers, again, because that also has to do with transformation and purifying, so they help people transform their bodies and stuff. Especially, I would think, in the Aries side of Krittika, you're going to find people who are more passionate about the physical body and being in shape, and also weapons and stuff, like literally fighting. Let me think. Also, government jobs, anything to do with government. So, could be defense, or it could be just some kind of government-connected position that they are in. Also, university or teaching, that's another profession that they might be in. Judges, and let me think, anything technical, like I think I did say that, so engineering, yeah, technical professions. Also anything to do with sharp objects, like I said. So again, they could be into fencing, they could be into these sports that have to do with, defense, with fighting and all that stuff. Also things like motivational speakers, coaches, personal trainers, like I said, connected with rehabilitation centers, work connected to orphanage. There is a theme connected to orphans with these nakshatra. I don't know how much this is going to play out when you look at the spouse archetype, but it might play out. So you might be attracted to someone who was adopted, or they plan on adopting, or you're going to adopt together, whether it's a human or an animal, or they're going to work for an orphanage or an animal shelter or something like that. And also they could be in any profession connected to, like, the dramatic arts, like I said. So artists, singers, and also singers. So this is a nakshatra that actually creates a lot of famous people, like, from what I noticed. Yeah, and speaking of famous people, some examples of people who do have this nakshatra, the moon, because that's the single most important planet that describes a person's energy when you look at it from the Vedic astrology perspective. So famous people in Krittika are Ronald Reagan, Bill Clinton, Frida Kahlo, Katharine Hepburn, Jessica Chastain, Cameron Diaz, just a few, just to give you an image of the overall energy that this nakshatra brings out in people. And also, I'm pretty sure that Miley Cyrus has her ascendant in Krittika, just as a parenthesis. Okay. Now, moving on to Uttara Phalguni. So, Uttara Phalguni falls into the interval between 26 degrees and 40 minutes Leo to 10 degrees Virgo. Again, sidereal zodiac. And it is literally translated into the latter reddish one, or the latter fig tree. It is ruled by Bhaga, which is the god of fortune and prosperity. It is, so the traits that your spouse are going to have if one of your relationship dispositors falls into Uttara Phalguni, are going to be something like nobility. So they're going to be noble in disposition, generous, reliable, good-willing, so there will be a lot of benevolence. The energy, the Gana of this nakshatra is Manusya, so they're not going to be particularly fierce. They're usually going to be more diplomatic, definitely more diplomatic than Krittika. They're going to be concerned with helping others and adhering to social expectations, following social rules. Again, nothing like Krittika. They can have a harsh, cruel energy, but ultimately all of their energy will tend to bring honor and balance. So again, you see the influence of the sun. Compassion, they're going to be focused on compassion and friendship. It's also called the star of patronage. So it's connected to prosperity and wealth, not bad. The element of this nakshatra is fire. Remember, for Krittika it was earth. The color is bright blue. So when I say these colors, you're going to see people who look good in bright blue, most likely. Or you're going to see, with Krittika, you're going to see people who look good in white, or who like white stuff. This is, so usually these colors, they have to do with the overall energy of that particular sign. So somehow it will come up when a person has a lot of this nakshatra energy. The animal that is sometimes associated is beetle. So one of the symbols associated with this nakshatra is beetle. It also makes a person who will have some kind of benefit from authority figures, so they will have good relations with authority figures. Again, this is really different from Krittika. Krittika generally do whatever they feel like, and they can get into arguments a lot. So Uttara Phalguni is a lot more sociable and a lot more, open towards mingling with society and basically, being a leader for the people. And so they tend to be focused. They will love luxury and comfort. They will be prosperous. They will be friendly and courageous. And they will show endurance and discipline and spiritual advancement. And right, some of the professions that your spouse can have, if one of your relationship dispositors falls in this, can be connected to music, art, any form of art. This is not different from Krittika because, again, it's ruled by the sun. Public figure, leader, anybody in some kind of authority position, like the head of an organization. Religious figures, like a preacher. Teaching, again, they can be philanthropists. They can be anything to do with like therapy, so marriage counselor, sex therapist, especially when it comes to relationships. Diplomat, social worker, banker, or advisor. I've written down some notes here again. Some of the celebrities that have this nakshatra are Sean Connery, Jack Nicholson, Alexander Graham Bell, celebrities meaning famous people, Mel Gibson, Agatha Christie. Just to give you an example again of the kind of energy that this nakshatra takes form as when it comes to people. Okay, so last but not least, if one of your dispositors falls into Uttara Ashadha, the last of the sun-dominated nakshatras, and this spans from 26 degrees 40 minutes Saturn to 10 degrees Capricorn. Sorry, did I say Saturn? Sagittarius. I don't even understand my own handwriting. So from 26 degrees 40 minutes Sagittarius to 10 degrees Capricorn, again, sidereal zodiac, be careful with that. It can be translated into ladder invincible one, ladder unconquered, final victory. A symbol for this can be, the symbol associated with this nakshatra is the elephant's tusk or the planks of a bed. It is also a Manushya Gana, so a human nakshatra. Remember that wait, this is not relevant. I was going to say something, but yeah, that's about moon signs. Okay, so the symbols, okay, so your partner is going to be characterized by deep integrity, concern for humanity. They will have most likely noble aspirations, can be very optimistic. They will have an innocent, optimistic outlook on life. They will display qualities of leadership, achievement, and a commitment to religion, deity, piousness, depending on what their religious belief is. They will have a great respect for traditions, and they will have a practical approach to beginning new ventures. Let me think. The rulers, although this is just a fun fact, the ruling deities, the 10 Vishvadevas, the sons of Lord Dharma. I hope I pronounced that right. The color associated with this nakshatra is copper. The element is air. And the bird associated is stork. So your partner is going to be virtuous, intelligent, sympathetic when it comes to listening to other people's problems. They will have leadership abilities, qualities. They can make good politicians. They're usually well liked. They are devoted to their friends and companions. They will enjoy reading and traveling. They can be very tolerant. They will love fair play and justice. So actually, fair play and justice is a theme for pretty much all of these nakshatras, because the sun doesn't like to play dirty. Yeah, so there's some level of nobility in all of these nakshatras. They will show good mannerisms, and they will tackle challenges in a positive way. They, again, so I mentioned this, they are idealistic. They're also quite modest, so unassuming, although dignified in their behavior. Optimistic and proficient in learning. They will enjoy reading and learning to expand their knowledge. And another thing that I can say, if you're a woman and one of your relationship dispositors falls into this nakshatra, into Uttara Ashadha, and also if you're straight, so meaning if you're attracted to men of this type, one thing that I can say is that from what I noticed, these men actually tend to put their friends on a very high position. So basically, these are the kind of men where you have to be friends with their friends at the same time, or they will not take you seriously as a partner. Worst case scenario, they can be someone who literally puts their friends above their romantic relationship. One of the reasons for this is also because of their energy, their yoni. I didn't get into this because it's a whole other debate in itself, but their energy is, I think it's the male, I'm not even sure if it's the male or female. No, it's the male. It's male mongoose. So, and they don't have a counterpart. This is the only nakshatra out of 27 that doesn't have a female mongoose. Which basically says that this nakshatra is meant to always be dissatisfied in relationships, so they will be hard to please from that perspective. Yeah, but you know, they have a lot of qualities to make up for all this, except there will always be kind of a feeling of, you know, never 100% getting to them. That kind of, this is the way that I see it, at least. Not 100%, you know, but they will still be loyal and all that. Good partners. So some of the professions that your partner could be in, if one of your relationship dispositors falls in Uttara Ashadha, will be anything, again, with a lot of positions of responsibility and ethics. So they can be, you know, government workers, they can be priests, again, or any kind of religious leaders, counselors, military workers, psychologists, things to do with even astrology, lawyers, judges, equine professions, scientists, researchers. So these people tend to be really well educated, depending on what the other configurations in their chart is. Or wrestlers or athletes, again, hunters or boxers, business executives, security managers, rangers, construction industry, holistic physicians, so even medical science. And some famous people with this nakshatra are or were Abraham Lincoln, Robert Kennedy, George Washington, Ernest Hemingway, John Lennon, Brad Pitt, and Billie Holiday. So yeah, this has been just to give you an example. So once again, all of these apply if you have, so they will apply to you if you have either Jupiter or Venus or Mars. I mean, if you're a woman and you have Jupiter or Mars, and if you are a man and you have Venus in one of them, or if you have the 7th house ruler from the D1 into one of these, or if you have the dark arca in one of these. So once again, the dark arca is the planet with the lowest degree. And this has been it. And if you like the video, please like, subscribe, hit the notifications bell. And once again, if you're interested in a personal consultation, please check out the video description. I will leave more information there. So once again, thank you.